That person at the Christmas dinner table who's just going through the motions. Everyone else is beaming with excitement, exchanging gifts, and you can almost hear the Christmas carols in the background. But this person, they're just kind of there. Not bad, not disengaged, but not exactly into it either. They're eating their turkey like it's just another Tuesday. No wide-eyed joy, no eager Christmas spirit. Maybe you've seen it. Maybe you've even been that person. You don't hate Christmas, but it's just another day. No extra magic, no festive frenzy, and you've probably gotten the weird looks when you don't show that excited grin everyone expects from you. But here's the thing. There's actually a whole psychology behind why some people treat Christmas like any other day. And it's not because they're Scrooge or Grinch-like. No, there's a deeper reason for this quiet indifference. Stick around, because I'm about to reveal the psychology behind the people who don't feel Christmas the way most of us do. First, let's talk about the practical realists. These are the people who view Christmas through the lens of, what does this really change? For them, the holidays are just a blip on the radar of an otherwise normal, busy life. They don't get swept up in the consumerist chaos or the frenzied gift-giving. Sure, they'll put up the tree, but they're not running to the store for that perfect gift. They're not stressing over the perfect dinner because, frankly, it's just another meal. Now, why do they act this way? Psychologically, this behavior is rooted in realism, or more specifically, a strong preference for routine and the mundane. These are the people who appreciate order and practicality over emotional highs. For them, a holiday is a temporary disruption that's more hassle than joy. They might also be more cognitive types, people who are very focused on logic and structure. To them, traditions aren't necessarily tied to any real meaning beyond their functional aspects. They don't see the need to celebrate just because the calendar says it's time to do so. Does this sound familiar? Maybe you're someone who just prefers the normal flow of things, even during the holidays. You enjoy the simplicity, and maybe Christmas just feels like a disruption of that peace. Then there's the emotional withdrawer. These people aren't necessarily against Christmas, but it doesn't bring them the warmth they're supposed to feel. Maybe they've had difficult experiences around the holidays, loss, loneliness, or disappointment. Over time, they've learned to distance themselves emotionally from the celebrations. You can probably picture them. They might be at the Christmas party, but they're not really participating. They're watching, but they're not engaged. They might even say things like, "It's just another day," or "It's the same as any other holiday." But it's not indifference, it's a coping mechanism. They might be protecting themselves from emotional triggers, from expectations, or from memories of past holidays that weren't as joyful as society suggests they should be. Psychologically, this behavior could be linked to attachment styles, specifically avoidant attachment. These are people who've learned to manage their emotions by pulling away, especially during emotionally charged times. Christmas for them is a time that stirs up too many emotions, good or bad, so they create emotional distance. Are you someone who's grown a little detached from the holiday hoopla? Maybe it's not that you dislike Christmas, it's just that it doesn't feel like it used to, and keeping your distance helps you manage that. Next, let's talk about the quiet rebels. These are the people who just don't want to get caught up in the frenzy of holiday cheer. Maybe they're tired of all the social pressure that comes with the season, the need to be extra happy, extra generous, and extra festive. For them, treating Christmas like any other day is almost a form of rebellion. They don't want to conform to society's idea of joy. Instead, they create their own narrative, choosing to keep things simple and understated. There's something subtly subversive about this mindset. Psychologically, it might be tied to a sense of individualism. Quiet rebels don't want to follow the herd. They reject the idea that they have to feel a certain way because it's Christmas. They understand that they can create meaning in their own way, outside of the cultural norms. So instead of participating in the mass celebration, they carve out their own space. Maybe you've noticed this attitude in yourself when you're simply not interested in the over-commercialized nature of the holidays. Maybe you enjoy the peace of a quiet day instead of all the forced cheer. It's not about rejecting Christmas, it's about rejecting the pressure to feel a certain way. And then there are those who treat Christmas like any other day because it's just another day of reflection. These individuals are deep thinkers who tend to be introspective around the holidays. They don't get caught up in the rush because for them, Christmas is a time to quietly reflect on life, on where they've been, where they're going, and what the season actually means to them. For these people, the holidays hold no special significance other than an opportunity for quiet introspection. The holidays are less about the celebration and more about personal growth or taking stock of what's really important in life. Christmas might be a time to pause, to think, to process, without all the distractions of social events or holiday pressures. Can you relate to that? Maybe you find yourself more contemplative at Christmas, looking inward rather than outward. For some, the holidays are more about solitude and the space to reflect, not the parties or the presents. So, which type are you? Are you the practical realist who just doesn't see the point of all the holiday hullabaloo? The emotional withdrawer who keeps their distance to avoid stirring up old feelings? Maybe you're the quiet rebel, standing firm against society's expectations of Christmas cheer. Or perhaps you're the introspective type, using the season for personal reflection instead of celebration. The truth is, Christmas isn't one size fits all. Some people don't get caught up in the magic, not because they're Scrooges, but because their experiences, mindset, or personality just don't line up with the traditional holiday narrative. And that's okay. So, what about you? How do you treat Christmas? Is it just another day, or do you get swept up in the holiday whirlwind? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video insightful, consider subscribing for more psychology dives into human behavior, because there's a lot more going on behind the surface than we sometimes realize.